Bill Maher, everyone's favorite comedic political commentator, has done it again. He's stirred up controversy with his take on diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI. You know, those initiatives companies and institutions are so keen on these days? Yeah, those. Maher's not sold. He's calling them out as virtue signaling, all talk and no action. Now before you grab your pitchforks, let's unpack this. Maher's not saying racial inequality doesn't exist. He's just questioning whether DEI is the right tool for the job. He thinks it's more about making people feel good than actually fixing anything. Maher's argument is simple. DEI programs focus on appearances, not actual change. He suggests that many of these initiatives are more about making companies look good, rather than creating real, lasting change. It's like putting on a show to convince the audience that progress is being made, while the core issues remain unaddressed. They're like putting a band-aid on a broken leg. The surface might look better, but the injury is still there, festering beneath the cover. Sure, it looks like you're doing something, but it doesn't address the underlying problem. The crack in the wall is still there, and it will only get worse over time if not properly fixed. He argues that companies and institutions are more concerned with ticking boxes than dismantling systemic issues. Think about it. When organizations focus on meeting quotas or achieving certain statistics, they often miss the bigger picture. The real work involves deep structural changes that go beyond surface-level metrics. How many diversity workshops have you sat through? How many times have you felt that these sessions were more about fulfilling a requirement than fostering genuine understanding and change? How many times have you heard companies boast about their DEI stats? They proudly display their numbers, but what do those numbers really mean? Are they indicative of true progress or just a superficial layer of success? Maher's saying it's not enough, it's just window dressing. These efforts might make things look better on the outside, but they don't solve the underlying issues. It's like painting over cracks in a wall without fixing the foundation. He believes we need to dig deeper, address the root causes of inequality, not just the symptoms. Real change requires us to look beyond the surface and tackle the fundamental issues that create and perpetuate inequality. Only then can we hope to create a truly equitable society. So, if DEI isn't the answer, what is? This is a question that has puzzled many, and it's one that Maher has spent considerable time thinking about. Diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives have their place, but Maher believes they are not the ultimate solution to the deep-rooted issues we face today. Well, Maher has a few ideas. He proposes a multifaceted approach that goes beyond surface-level fixes. His solutions are grounded in practical, actionable steps that aim to create lasting change. He believes in tackling the issue from multiple angles. First up, education. Maher is a strong advocate for comprehensive educational reform. He argues that education is the cornerstone of a prosperous society and the key to breaking the cycle of poverty and inequality. Maher argues that a good education is the key to breaking the cycle of poverty and inequality. He envisions a world where every child, regardless of their background, has access to quality education. This means not just better schools but also more resources, dedicated teachers, and a curriculum that prepares students for the future. He wants to see better schools, more resources, and equal opportunities for all. Sounds reasonable, right? But Maher knows that education alone isn't enough. It's a crucial piece of the puzzle, but there are other factors at play. Next, he emphasizes the importance of strong families, particularly the role of fathers. Maher believes that a stable family environment is essential for the healthy development of children. He points out that children who grow up in supportive families are more likely to succeed in life. He believes that stable family structures provide a solid foundation for children to thrive. This means encouraging responsible parenting, providing support for families in need, and fostering a community where families can flourish. Finally, Maher points to the war on drugs, which he argues has disproportionately impacted minority communities. He believes that current drug policies have done more harm than good, leading to mass incarceration and breaking up families. He advocates for drug policy reform as a crucial step towards addressing systemic inequality. By changing these policies, Maher believes we can reduce incarceration rates, keep families together, and create a more just society. In summary, Maher's solutions are comprehensive and multifaceted, addressing education, family stability, and drug policy reform to create lasting change. Maher doesn't hold back when it comes to criticizing what he sees as the excesses of woke culture. He believes this culture, while well-intentioned, can sometimes stifle open discussion. He argues that people are so afraid of saying the wrong thing that they avoid important conversations altogether. This fear of being labeled insensitive or problematic can create an environment where people are afraid to speak their minds, even if they have valid points. Maher believes that this self-censorship prevents us from having honest and productive dialogues about race and inequality. Section 5. Corporate America pushes back. Maher isn't the only one questioning the effectiveness of DEI. Several big-name companies, including Walmart, Nissan, and American Airlines, have recently scaled back or even ditched their DEI programs. These companies are citing concerns about discrimination and a lack of tangible results. They argue that rigid quotas and targets can actually create new forms of inequality. This corporate pushback against DEI suggests a potential shift in how companies approach diversity and inclusion. It's a sign that the debate is far from over. Section 6. The DEI Dilemma. Does it work? The million-dollar question is, does DEI actually work? It's a complex issue with no easy answers. Supporters argue that DEI initiatives are crucial for creating more equitable and inclusive workplaces and institutions. They point to the importance of representation and the need to dismantle systemic barriers. Critics, on the other hand, question whether these programs actually reduce tensions or if they might actually worsen them. They worry about reverse discrimination and the potential for tokenism. The debate is nuanced and often heated, with valid points being raised on both sides. Section 7. Finding common ground. So, where do we go from here? Maher's criticism, while provocative, highlights the need for an honest conversation about the effectiveness of DEI and the best ways to achieve true equality. Perhaps it's time to move beyond the surface level, ditch the buzzwords, and focus on real solutions. We need to address the root causes of inequality, poverty, lack of access to education, and systemic racism. This requires a multifaceted approach, one that involves government policies, community initiatives, and individual actions. Section 8. The last laugh? Whether you agree with Maher's take on DEI or not, one thing's for sure. He's got people talking. His bold statements and unapologetic humor have sparked conversations across the board, from living rooms to social media platforms. And that's never a bad thing. In fact, it's a sign of a healthy society when we can engage in discussions, even if they are sparked by controversial figures or statements. Sometimes a little bit of controversy is what we need to shake things up and spark meaningful dialogue. It forces us to confront our own beliefs and biases, and to consider perspectives we might not have thought about before. At the end of the day, we all want a more just and equitable society. We may have different ideas on how to achieve it, but the goal remains the same. It's about finding common ground and working together towards a better future. The question is, how do we get there? The path to equity and justice is not a straight line. It's filled with twists and turns, and sometimes it feels like we're taking one step forward and two steps back. The answer probably lies somewhere between performative activism and ignoring the problem altogether. It's about finding a balance, where actions are genuine and impactful, rather than just for show. It's about finding that sweet spot where real change can happen, where our efforts are not just symbolic but lead to tangible improvements in people's lives. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got a diversity seminar to attend. These seminars are a great opportunity to learn and grow, to understand the challenges others face, and to find ways to be part of the solution. Don't worry, I'll try not to fall asleep. After all, staying awake and engaged is the first step towards making a difference.